to Texas Football Talk. I'm your host, Jeremy Lockerbie, once again joined by my brother Clint in this episode talking the wide receiver position for the 2021 Texas Longhorns, led by Andre Coleman. How you doing, brother?
Hey, pretty good, man. It's been a rough one at work this week. You know, it's nice to get on here and talk a little Longhorns football, talk a little bit of spring practice. Less than a week out from spring practice. Obviously, you're going to talk wide receivers. Obviously, one of the coaches that Sarkisian brought back are Andre Coleman. There's some thoughts on why he brought him back, and then you kind of find out that he had tried to bring him to Atlanta and then talk to him about it. I think coming to going to Alabama at one particular point. Really, my question going into spring practice it's not who's going to start coming out of spring practice. It's more of what the attrition rate is going to look like after spring practice. You know, Steve Sarkisian brought up a couple of times during some pressers that there was a lot of scholarship players at wide receiver. Obviously the only really key departures you lost at the position currently are Brennan Eagles, obviously 6'4", 229 pounds, declared for the NFL draft. Same thing with Tart Black, who's a transfer from Michigan, 6'3", 217 pounds, who also decided he was going to declare for the NFL. I think those two guys have an opportunity to go on and obviously have an opportunity to make a team. We talked a little bit about, obviously they when you're looking at these two guys, body types, they are NFL body type wide receivers. Currently don't have any transfer out or transfers in, and I think that plays with the attrition rate. Your thoughts, man, on this attrition? After spring practice.
Exactly. So I see 3 to 4 probably scholarship guys probably not being in this program after spring ball. And what kind of hurts is Brennan Eagles is 6'4", 229 pounds. Tart Black was 6'3", 217 pounds. The guys that you have in this program that have that body type currently are Kennedy Lewis, a redshirt sophomore at 6'3", 200. And then it goes, again, Troy Omeire, who's 6'3", 230 pounds. So you're losing guys with a lot of size. Like you talked about, I feel like we understand who the guys are that are going to be coming back. We didn't have any transfers in. We understand that we had 3 guys that we picked up in the 21 recruiting cycle. Jaden Alexis, Casey Kane, Jaden Alexis being out of Pompano Beach, Florida, Casey Kane being from New Orleans, Louisiana, and then Keith Lee from Bryan, Texas. But all smaller body types or X, Z or H receivers versus X receivers with the big bodies. So again, those 2 guys that are going to the NFL, like you talked about, Tart Black and Brennan Eagles, the only 2 guys you have on this current roster with that size are Kennedy Lewis, and then again with Troy Omeire, and then Avante Woodard is 6'2", 214, so he fits that bill as well. But haven't seen much out of him in his 3 years on the 40 acres. Just my thoughts.
And I think we may get into this a little bit, but to me, the wide receivers were probably one of the most underdeveloped position groups that we've had over the last couple of years. And I know we'll get into the numbers here in a bit, but I don't know if it was scheme or if it was just pure underdevelopment or not being able to use your athletes the way they should be. And we'll kind of get into that. A couple of more notes as far as the wide receivers go. Brendan Schooler, I think there's a position change to safety. That's where he played it a bit at Oregon before, obviously he transferred to Arizona before he transferred to Texas. Brought him in as a wide receiver, and he came in, he learned the offense really, really fast, and he contributed. And I think that was important. And obviously injuries got him. But to see him move back to safety, I think that's a really, really good move for him. Obviously, I think he was a freshman All-American at Oregon there in the Pac-12 playing safety. So to move him back to safety and give him an opportunity to play there, they obviously seen something on tape that made him make that change. And then obviously Montrell Sale made a position change to wide receiver from a defensive back. They may go back and look at that again to see if it's do they want to keep him as a wide receiver because of the numbers they have a wide receiver versus the numbers they have a defensive back. That's probably a look, something I may look at coming out of spring practice as well.
Yeah, just talking about Schooler coming or going back to safety. I believe when he transferred from Oregon to us, I believe me and you both felt like safety position. Mm-hmm. Like if he was a freshman All-American at safety, you kind of talked about these same numbers in the depth at wide receiver as far as 5 stars in Whittington and Smith and Josh Moore coming back. And at the time, Brennan Eagles was there, and you had Tart Black, who was transferring as well from Michigan, that we felt like Schooler's probably best position on the roster would have been at safety, even though you had Caden Stearns and Chris Brown who are now going to the NFL. That may be the reason why he's going back, is the depth at safety. And then you may look at Montreal Estelle's body type, like we talked about a little bit earlier, is maybe filling that gap that Eagles and Black kind of helping out with the likes of Troy Omeire and Kennedy Lewis and now Vontae Woodard at that X position because of his body type. But more to follow. But like I said, when Brendan Schooler transferred into the program, I really thought his position of the most help that he could give to the University of Texas was at safety. So kind of cool to see he's going back there.
Yeah, and obviously, talking about, these 5-star guys that we got in or close to 5-star guys, Gator Player of the Year and Jake Smith and Jordan Whittington, obviously going out there and breaking records as a high school football player in the playoffs here in the state of Texas and being a 5-star guy in that class. And then obviously Joshua Moore, who probably is the closest to what you would find in those Alabama wide receivers that Steve Sarkisian had. I'm not saying he's at that level at this particular point because I don't want to say he's a Heisman Trophy winner. But if you're looking at size, speed, what he can bring, obviously, if you look at his stats from last year, you're looking at 10 games, 30 catches, 472 yards. With 9 touchdowns. So it's like every other third catch, he has a touchdown, and then 15.7 yards per catch. So I think the talent is there. I think the rotations that they ran last year, obviously in under the other old regime on offense, played a part in that. Not getting your guys open in space played a part in that. Not playing to your players' ability played a part in that. And then you're looking at Jake Smith. Go ahead, Jeremy. Want to add something?
No, just with Josh Moore, and I want to talk about that real quick. Yeah, like you said, 1/3 of his catches, 30 catches, 9 touchdowns, end up in the end zone. Your big plays from last year, explosives, came from 2 guys, and that was Joshua Moore and Brennan Eagles. So we're going to talk about the next 2 guys and understand that they didn't have the same amount of games played. Again, going into Jake Smith and Jordan Whittington and their abilities as, like you said, high 4 stars, 5-star receivers, but haven't seen the field as much as a guy like Josh Moore showed last year in his production.
Yeah. Same thing, man. Yeah. Jordan Whittington and Jake Smith, and I think they have an opportunity to break out, obviously in Steve Sarkisian's defense. It's just, it's sad to look at these numbers, man, and see where they've been over the last couple of years. And like you said, Jordan Whittington has been injury prone over the last couple of years. So he really had an opportunity, but when you see him, the only thing that keeps him out of the end zone is self. On multiple plays, he would get out in space, and I think his feet were too fast for him at sometimes, and he'd get tripped up by the turf monster a lot of the times in space. But the talent is there. And I think when you're looking at probably projected starters out of, spring practice, everybody talked about Troy Omeire, last fall and into the spring right before COVID, it was one of these things. And then all of a sudden he tore up his knee and didn't have an opportunity to play this year. But it sounds like the new staff sees the same things from him. And then obviously, so you're looking at probably Troy Omeire, probably starting, and then probably a semblance of Whittington, Smith, and Moore. And I think at some particular point, you'll probably see 4 wide receivers on the field, and it's going to be those 4 wide receivers. I think it really goes back to attrition. Now, are there some guys out there, man, speedy guys that are lined up behind them that are going to obviously stay? Absolutely. One of them obviously being, help me out here, I lost my train of thought here. Keontae Ingram's younger brother.
Oh, Kelvontae Dixon.
And Kelvontae Dixon, man. I think he's really has something to bring to the 40 acres. But truly excited about this room. I just think they've been underdeveloped over the last couple of years. I really think they have an opportunity to be really special in the offense that is currently on the 40 acres.
Yeah, just like we said, we felt like there was a whole lot of meddling from the previous head coach because this was his position that he coached growing up through the ranks. Like you said, Kelvontae Dixon, Dejon Harrison, just speed in the slot position that you can get from those guys. Kelvontae Dixon showed that in the game versus Colorado, taking it from the slot and then running like a skinny post down the middle of the field and just running away from everybody. And Dejon Harrison with 5'10", 170, just a speedster out of Hutto. And then all the kids you brought in, the Jade Alexis, is a track star. Casey Kane is your possession receiver, but he's not a big guy, but he's just kind of a jack of all trades type receiver. And then Keith Lee is similar to Dejon Harrison. He's a slider guy, 5'10", 5'11", but perfect slot build. Essentially could get like a guy you'd like to get out in space with blockers out in front and see what plays he can make. But it's all going to come down to, like you said a little bit earlier, that's production from these guys that the Jordan Whittingtons in that class of when I say 2019, but the Whittingtons and the Smiths, when they really went all offense with the Gatorade Player of the Year out of Arizona, the kid who was all everything at Cuero, and bringing them into this program. And it's been injuries. It's been, core injuries for Whittington, lower body injuries for Smith that have kept them off the field and being productive. But like I said, if you can get them for 10 games, I think they could be as productive as Joshua Moore. But yeah, going back and look at the stats from last year, him and Brendan Eagles were where all your plays were made as far as touchdowns, per catch. And like I said, I'm happy to have Josh Moore back as the leader of this receiving core. Can he be a Waddle or a Devontae Smith type player? You'd hope that Steve Sarkisian would see him in that mold, try to get him in those areas where Devontae Smith was able to make big plays. But again, you got 5 stars around him that I think have that potential too, if they can stay on the field.
And one final thought, you're talking about having probably one of the best running backs in the nation that's sitting there in the backfield, obviously as a receiving threat, but also going to make some of these defenses put 8 in the box. What we have to see from the wide receivers moving forward is being able to get off man coverage, get in space, find space, and make plays on one-on-one coverage, because they're going to see a lot of that. Especially if your running back's running for 100, 150, 200 yards a game, they're going to put people in the box and make you really try to stop the run and make you pass. And I think that's what, obviously 2 quarterbacks currently that are probably going to be fighting for a position in Casey Thompson and Hudson Card are going to have to understand. You're going to hand it off to your running backs in the backfield. But when it's time to make plays and they put 8 in the box, you're going to be able to get that ball to your receivers.
Yeah, I was just envisioning a 4-wide set with Troy Omeire on the outside on the same time as Joshua Moore, on the same side as Joshua Moore. Mm-hmm. It's Josh Moore in the slot with Omiere outside, and then Whittington on the outside, because he's a little bit bigger than Jake Smith, but Jake Smith in the slot. Imagine if you had those mismatches on one side of the field where you have to really worry about the deep threat, and probably going to have to cover over the top. If what we saw last year in the summer shows fruition against the good defensive backs that we had at Texas and the plays that he was able to make, him over the top needing safety help, and then you leave Josh Moore on that side with a safety or a slot corner, and on the other side you have the ability to take advantage of Jake Smith's quick twitch, and then have Whittington on the outside. Like, you can definitely develop matchup problems with this group of receivers, like you said, if they're healthy and playing at 100%, because they could. Yeah. Like I said, Josh Moore and Troy Omeire on one side of the football field, with Jared Wiley maybe on the same side as your tight end / H-back, and Bijan lined up to that side, creates a lot of problems on one side of the defense that I don't know that you can handle. But you can't have Bijan and Jared Wiley. I just drew too many players on the field. But you see what I'm saying, that you can create matchup problems for guys.
But I think when you go back, it again, and I don't want to go back to the past, but you're bringing the same guys back, minus 2 guys. You know what I'm saying? And the underproduction, if you want to call it, or the underdevelopment of these players, we have to move forward as far as wide receiver room going forward, especially if we want to. If you're looking in the 2022 recruiting class with these top wide receivers, you're going to have to produce on the field for these guys to want to come play at the University of Texas on the 40 acres. At DKL.
Absolutely agree.
So, I'm really, really excited about spring practice. We're a couple of days out. We'll be putting out some other content. I think the next content we'll be putting out is cornerbacks, obviously wide receivers, cornerbacks, and then from there we'll do I think running backs.
No, going tight ends, linebackers.
Tight ends, linebackers, and then running back safeties, and then quarterback. So we appreciate you. Hope you enjoyed this latest podcast. We appreciate you listening as always. Please hit that subscribe button. If you have not hit that subscribe button, please hit that like button. If you haven't told someone about Texas football, please tell somebody that may be interested in Texas football talk. Tell them about us. You can find us on Twitter at TX Football Talk, on Facebook at Texas Football Talk, and on Instagram at Texas Football Talk. We appreciate you listening as always, and hook 'em.
Hook 'em.